If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End and wish to support us, the best thing you can do is to share it on your social media, but also you can tell your mother, sister, cousin, auntie, the kid that's walking by you down the street, your gym crush, anybody about the episode you're listening to and why you liked it. There's also another way to support us, and it's to go to the link posted in the description and on our Facebook page. And when you become a subscriber, you'll have access to subscriber-only content and ad-free listening for every single episode we put out. No matter what you choose to do, I do greatly appreciate you for tapping in, and please do reach out to our Facebook page so we can chat. Tell us what you feel, what you think, what you don't like, what I could improve upon. At the end of the day, this is meant to be a conversation starter. And just to be completely open and honest, every single penny that goes to the Off the Deep End program with subscribers is going to help other people by spreading the word via ads or getting new microphones so we can have more people at a time. And I really do appreciate every single listener. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great day and don't pass the pain. Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one. And if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions or, if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. All right, we are live. I'm joined with my brother Dagem. I haven't reconnected with him. It's been, what has it been, like 11, 10, 12 years? 13 fucking years.
At least a decade, man.
At least a decade, at least. There's no way we could have gone below that at all.
No, absolutely not.
We first met in Linwood High School, right? Because we went to high school together.
Yeah, I believe it was sophomore year. Is that when you came to our school?
Yeah, sophomore year. I came to your school, I believe. Yes.
Yeah. So it would have been then.
Yeah, because I transferred from a different place, and it was so much fun. It was kind of wild, being introduced to a different area. Right, cultures are different, and different people.
Right.
I was new to the block, so I didn't really fit in. Right.
No, that's fair. I didn't really feel like I fit in too well my freshman year, but at the same time, it's like you make what it is, you know what I mean? So you find your stride.
Yeah, you.
It's no big deal.
It takes time, though.
It takes time. It does take time. You gotta trust yourself.
I had my way in because I was lifting weights with the football kids. So
there it is.
I kind of had like a group of people who knew my name.
I think for me, I kind of just relied on I felt like I could make friends with anybody I wanted. Yeah. So I kind of just relied on that. I don't know, man. I just kind of chose to be as nice as I could, I suppose. Mm-hmm. In moments, make someone's day.
Well, you got a great personality, so I'm not surprised you click well with everybody.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I don't know one person who can't say that they like you at all. I mean, I could tell you a bunch of people I fucking hate, but
no, man. Come on, dog. No.
I couldn't. I don't hate. I only have one person on this earth that I really do hate. But
there it is.
But everybody has somebody that they absolutely hate, hatred for, right? Shit, man. But so, why don't you tell me a little bit about, or a lot about, either way, it's up to you. What was it like growing up for you? Because obviously, I hate to go to the things that divide us as human beings, but you're a little bit darker than me.
Sure.
You have a different ethnical background than me. You're from the area of Ethiopia, which is the east side of Africa.
Yeah.
And I descend from the Zulu tribe.
Okay.
And I don't know directly where on the map I came from, but I knew that I have roots back to the Zulu tribe based off of my line of ancestry.
Sure.
So what was it like growing up for you? Where do you see very, very serious or non-significant differences between you and other people that have came from the motherland?
That's okay. I think it is significant. First off, I'll say that. I think there are major differences. A lot of it has to do with parental side of it. I think it's not so much the family dynamic, because families are families at the end of the day. If you got love, you got love, right? But the culture is what makes it different. So I would say the dynamic between child and parent, that's the biggest difference. It's not the same as I saw going to my homie's house or even my neighbors. I was pretty much, we were the only black family in an entire white neighborhood.
Wow.
I think we had an Indian family that lived next to us as well, and they were really cool. But overall, like my entire neighborhood was white, and I didn't really see it that way as a kid. I just had friends. We were all friends in the neighborhood.
So
Um,
your difference color of your skin didn't really make a difference to you.
it makes a difference, but it doesn't have to be negative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the difference is something we should avoid. I don't think the word is inherently negative.
Yeah,
I think people make it negative.
I think I agree.
Uh, I feel like the differences is what makes us cool. I feel like we should lean on the fact that we are different sometimes, but we don't have to undermine it either to make us feel better about it. You know what I mean?
That I never looked at it that way.
So that's just how I think.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the differences is cool because I do have a culture that maybe someone else doesn't, and we could like really vibe on that. We could talk about it, and maybe they will ask me a question about my heritage. Well, I assume you will today, and I'll have to be like, man, I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I have to research more about myself, and I think there's just opportunities and conversations that people avoid that I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
I definitely think it's cool. I never thought of it from the same wavelength that you did with such positivity and stuff like that. For me, growing up, there was a time in my life where I was in an all white neighborhood,
Sure.
or all Mexican or Asian or whatever. Like there's so many different lines that all separate us as human beings, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
If you call a Puerto Rican a Dominican, like you got an earful headed your way, man. So like everybody's social the socioeconomic breakdown of our society
Mhm.
is so diverse here in our area.
Absolutely.
We have the people who came from war zones. We have people who had family members that were translators that got visas and stuff like that to enter the United States.
Absolutely.
We have brave men and women who escaped the cartel land.
Mhm.
We have people who came here for a bigger purpose, right?
Sure.
Or for to have difference. Because I know that and that's how I really do know the American dream is still alive. You have every single walk of life here in America. Like when you see those, like to me, when I see the blue and the white, and the white stars on it and the reds and white stripes, it overwhelms me every time. And it's not because it's on my wall everywhere, right?
Sure.
It's
Sure.
because, and it's not because I served in the military. It's because I really was told at a young age that we can do whatever we want here in this country, regardless of race, religion, or creed. We do have these great things that connect us as human beings and things that divide us. Biggest thing I saw growing up was people didn't bring up race to me until I was in like middle school. I didn't really realize.
I would have the same sentiment.
I thought it was just oh, this person has brown parents. This person has kind of whitish pink. They burn really easily during the sun. You gotta put on sunscreen. Mom, why do I not put on sunscreen? I didn't put on any sunscreen. I didn't get it right.
Sure.
But some people react differently to sunlight than others, right?
Right.
Some people are vampires or some shit. I loved it. I loved seeing it growing up. So, so you're in an area of pretty much all the kids in your area are white.
Absolutely.
But everything's all good.
Yeah, man, I love my neighbors. They were amazing. The first day we moved in, I don't know if I want to name drop them, but like, and I guess if it's a positive way, it doesn't really matter. But like the Roundy family, like, they were dope. First day we moved in, that we really moved in, the mom came down with her son. It was around the time that her son was having a birthday, and she invited her and her son, knocked on our door, brought cookies, and said, do you want to come to my son's birthday? Because I was the same age as her son at the time, and that was like my first real like best friend growing up.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? So like, and then we like, the neighborhood was so close. It was crazy. Like I had that experience that you see like in like the movies Little Rascals.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had the neighborhood who all commingle together and would have like block parties. We would have like we would do like sledding together. We would like, you know what I mean? Like everything together. Like we do Easter egg hunts together. We even went to church together. If it was, to try it out, obviously, like, I obviously had my own denomination at the time, but I feel like there's a lot of things that people of color, especially, obviously, in this situation, they experience things that when they go to their friend's house, right? They do a certain way. Their family does things a certain way.
Yeah.
Every minute behavior is different. And when they go home, like they see their family, right? And now there's perspective for them. And at the young age that I had it at, luckily I feel like I didn't let it worry me. I just thought it was cool to experience things.
Yeah.
That's just what it was for me.
Awesome.
But there, of course, there's moments in life where I've had, my own my own problems with racial discrimination, and like I've experienced racism in my own life. And
Yeah.
um but like between I don't think of the racism as like the overall issue.
Hmm.
I feel like it is a fact that it happens,
Hmm.
but I don't think we're handling it the right way sometimes.
I think that I can agree. We're not handling a lot of things correctly. You know, I'm just gonna say it. I've already cut a lot of heat for this, but it's
Sure.
so important to use our voice when things bother us as human beings. A lot
Yes.
of people will cower away from conflict just to save face in the situation and then reflect on it, and then they overthink it. Because what do we do when we're alone in an echo chamber, which is our mind is essentially an echo chamber when we only have one perspective in it. And if we don't conflict that issue
Hmm.
and we let it boil up inside of us, we're going to get pissed off. The emotions are going to come in, fear of being treated the same way again, anger at being treated that way the first time, the sadness of being treated less than a normal fucking human being. Like all these things do stoop up, and
Right.
a lot of times we attack the person later in a different way instead of confronting it when it could be a minor mistake, or let's say it's not, and it's someone who's been taught generational hatred and they really don't know what generational hatred is,
Yeah.
and they think it's just their normal, right? Their
Hmm.
normal how their normal families, like their normalcy. It is their normalcy. It is a
Correct.
standard to act in
Correct.
hate, and
Correct.
they don't see it as acting in hate. They just do it.
Correct.
I definitely had my run-ins with racists before. I've had all this shit, man.
Yeah, man.
It's not fun. It's not fun
No.
to run from you know a truck full of fucking. I don't want to say anything.
No.
I want to say it's gonna be really bad. A bunch of ignorant fucks out there
Absolutely.
who want to harm you because of your skin color.
Right.
I didn't grow up with it. Thankfully, none of that happened in my childhood. I didn't even know what racism was, so I was like 11. After I already watched Roots and
Right.
my grandpa, and he's a Black Panther, so he
Hmm.
would
Oh wow.
teach. He would teach me things. He he would teach me the importance of self of thinking of yourself, of not clinging to the same ideology that we as a society do. We come down in this same room and we'd watch movies and learn about like real Black culture, and not the stuff that they just put out in the history books, and not the stuff they just tell the kids, stuff that is taught at HBCUs and stuff like that. And it's an overwhelming experience to be tapped into your culture.
Hmm.
So for you, what was the family household dynamic like?
Cool, man. It was in I feel like a lot of Americans like say like, we say it was a traditional family,
Mm-hmm.
So but in this sense, not really, because my mom and my dad both worked.
Okay.
And they owned a business out in downtown Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Tana Market, or Tana
Okay.
Market. And it was there for like 25 years we've had it. And we just, 3 years ago, my mom retired finally. So good for her. But back to I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
All we do here is tangents, man. All we do here is tangents.
Let's get back on the point. The family dynamic was cool. I had two older sisters, and I would go to school. We didn't really have like dinner at home all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like my parents would come home like around 8, 9 o'clock, so it would be kind of too late for that stuff. Um, but when I turned 12, my parents divorced. So uh, dad went to Atlanta, and I haven't really talked to him since, really.
Oh, it sucks.
That's all good. It's just life.
Yeah.
And my mom and me and my oldest sisters, we stayed home. We stayed with her, and we toughed it out, I suppose, in a way. But it was weird growing up for me, because at that age, I would say most of my friends had pretty nuclear families,
Mhm.
and I would go to their houses a lot, and I would be, envious almost as a
Mhm.
kid, like seeing like people having like a good family dynamic. But I never really outwardly, I would never outwardly like portray that. But
Yeah.
that was like deep down in my conscience. Like that's what I really felt.
Well, a lot of people, what we don't talk about is the the seriousness of what people normally put out as like a joke, like, oh, they have daddy issues, or that
Yeah,
person
yeah,
has
yeah,
daddy
yeah.
issues.
That shit real,
But
bro.
that shit is real,
Yeah,
and
that's just
it
real
really
for
creates
sure.
not having that other parent in your life. If they just left just
Hmm.
of their own accord.
Hmm.
Now, if they're a piece of shit and they can't be around the kids, I completely understand that.
Right.
They got to keep
No,
around the
that
kids.
wasn't like that. No,
But if it's not like that,
no. It
it
was
can it can really create some issues.
it was more sudden, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It was more sudden for me. Like I really thought I had the best family ever. I thought I had the most loving dad and mom. I thought I had the best sisters. I thought my family was what people should aspire to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I really had that high of praise for them. Like I had pride in my family,
Yeah.
like massive pride. And my dad instilled that in me for sure. Being a Habesha man, Habesha is just the word we use to call people from Ethiopia.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like that's the term. That's what we are. We're
Yeah.
Habesha. That's the
Okay.
people.
Habusha.
Habesha.
Habasha.
Habesha.
Okay.
Yeah,
I learned a
and
new word today.
yeah,
I have to write it down.
yeah. And that's just the people of Ethiopia.
Okay.
And so my dad, the, the men of Ethiopia are very prideful. We're very prideful people,
Okay.
and just in general, but especially the men. And my dad, for sure, had all of those characteristics, but he instilled a lot of, a lot of that in me, and I can see it to this day, like it being holding true, and but yeah, not having both parents, it was just weird. Like my mom would have to step up and now work for two, so I didn't really see her much anymore. We would I'd be walking to school, I walk back. uh there was no one in the house all the time. I would go like months, sometimes I'd go like weeks. I wouldn't say months, that's a little exaggeration, but I'd go like maybe a week or two without seeing my mom in increments, growing up. And it was just normal to me because I had to get used to it, right? But
Because she was running the business
yeah, she
by
was running the
herself.
business solo, man,
Okay.
trying to do it herself, and she did it, man. She was doing great. And but it really took a toll on her. And yeah, like I had a lot of stuff I've held inside, but I never really like I would say if you saw me in high school, you'd probably say I'm a pretty happy kid, pretty positive
The people with
kid.
the biggest smiles usually have the biggest frowns.
Okay, it's like that's a good one. All right.
There was one of my favorite
Okay.
quotes from Harry Potter. It's Albus Dumbledore said, for someone who is often seen as being so important, I make the biggest mistakes, and that was a really good perspective builder for me as a child, because I didn't realize the more people you connect with, the bigger impact you could have, also in a negative fashion.
Right.
And that also, it kind of just transcends time and reality and space and all these weird things that divide us and connect us as humans to apply to this situation. Is
Absolutely.
that the biggest smiles do hide the biggest, like, you'll if I what if I told you, like, the whole time you knew me in high school, I was living in a crack house, sleeping with a gun under my bed, and not knowing if I was going to have the next day be around my family at all, and I had no contact with my whole family. Like, all I had was my dad, and he lived here with me,
Hmm.
and we were just trying. And he was fresh out of prison. We were just trying to figure out like life. I had been outcasted by my whole entire family. All I had was Rhiannon, my dad, and the people at my school. People like Jordan Drew, people like Jordan Dugan, Yuri Kalosian. These were they became my family.
All right.
And to this day, if any of them ever called me, I'd show up. Taylor Russ, she'd give me a phone call. I can just go. Gabby Hernandez, freaking, I can go down a list of everybody who meant the world to me, and they didn't know that. You didn't know the interactions you were having with me were so important to me. Your smile, however true and honest, or however much you were suppressing beneath the smile,
Sure.
meant the biggest deal to me. Your attitude stood out. Your simple handshakes in between classes, just ask and say, "Hey, what's up, bro? How's it going?" Like, it meant the world to me, and so my interactions were so great there, because of people like you.
Man. I'm happy I could have an impact on you like that,
Yeah, dude.
and spreading positivity is always something I wish I hope I do every day,
Yeah,
as best I
you
can.
do.
So
Anybody who knows you will say it, man. It's kind of this weird thing. This weird thing about people who do smile a lot.
mhm.
You never know what's behind that smile.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I hope I'm not like, trying to like paint this like sob story at all,
You're just expressing yourself, and
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it.
yeah, I'm just saying like, I'll tell you guys a story. Like, so it was like, it was sophomore year, and I just got back from a trip with my family to Ethiopia for my first time.
Oh, so this is your first time returning
Yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah. Because this, what's funny, Eddie, about me meeting you was I met you in the second half of sophomore year
Mhm.
because I was gone all first semester.
Mhm.
I was in Ethiopia the whole time, sophomore year, and
Did they give you credits?
well, they gave me homework to do, right, and
Oh, okay.
I did all of it, but they still flunked me.
Oh,
Yeah,
bullshit.
some assholes. But yeah,
You thought they had it all together, and
yeah,
the
they're
school
like
district.
they said literally they said this is good that you did the homework, but there's nothing you could have done about in person credits. What was the word? Participation.
Participation. You know what?
Yeah, and I failed because of
Oh,
that and shit, and all the
bullshit.
tests or whatever. So like,
I would have marked you here.
that's what
Yeah, I would have said, fuck it. Yeah, why
right.
not?
But hey, it's all good. We made it through, barely,
Barely.
but we made it through. um, but yeah, back. So my family had just gotten back, and at this time, I'm going through some weird stuff at home because, the dynamic has completely changed. I'm a lot older at this point. It's been like 4 years since the divorce happened. I felt like I really had to grow up quick, and so you know, I feel like it's a little embarrassing to say, but at the same time, I don't really care. My mom had like a lot of abandonment issues,
Mhm.
and because of that, and I really had to help her through that, and I love her to death, and she's dope as fuck for everything she's done for me, and I can't tell you this. Like, she is honestly a saint on this earth. You know what I mean? Like, truly. Like, I can't tell you how powerful she is. Like, I've never seen someone like that, bro. It was crazy. But she went through a lot of like just a little bit of like, she didn't want to be alone. She felt
Mhm.
a little empty, and I don't blame her. She lost the love of her life. So
Yeah.
like some shit didn't work out, and it whatever happened. But um so one day we're sleeping, and it's like February or something, I think, and because it was cold still. I remember that it was just really cold that day. My mom wakes up, and she's like, I'm not feeling too good right now. Like, I feel kind of weird. And I'm like, all right, like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to like what do you want me to do? Like, get you some water, give you a massage on your back or something? Like, what's going on? And she's like, no, I think I'm okay. And then she went back to bed. Like, maybe like 30 minutes later, she wakes up like screaming, like saying she can't feel her arm. And then, that was like her mini stroke that she had.
Oh my goodness.
And it was me and my sisters, and we had to call the ambulance, and that was just a weird day. Like, I was thinking I was gonna lose my mom or some shit, and then thank God she fully recovered. God bless, she was doing fine after, no issues going forward. But that day, like, going back to school, like, it gave me so much perspective on like like gratitude and being grateful for
Mhm.
things, and not being so worked up about things you can't control.
Oh my goodness.
Like, it like really like dawned on me right there, and so that was just a lot of shit I had to go through. But I never really expressed that to nobody, like going through these things, and my family not being as cohesive as I would want them to be,
Mhm.
me wishing I had the power or the say to like just make it happen, you know what I mean? Like, feeling kind of powerless in a way, a little bit limitless to what I can do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was a little weird, but it was a lot
It,
growing
it,
up.
it is it is a
It was
lot
it was it was a lot.
to have a piece of whatever dynamic you're used to
Right, right,
as a
right.
child just to up and disappear. It leaves not like it's more than just the escaping hole of like for you.
Mhm.
Where's my positive male role model who's supposed to tell me this is how to be a man? Or where's this positive male role model that teaches blah blah how to whatever the fuck? Everybody has different like family, leaders and shit.
Mhm.
It's more than dangerous to mix a human being as a child who needs that guidance.
Sure.
And then to have that guidance disappear,
Mhm.
there's no Google Maps. It's like driving without Google Maps.
Right.
You go to a completely different area. You have no idea what's going on.
And
there's no book on how to deal with that.
And God bless my mom, but like she literally just didn't have the time to like, give me any more parental guidance than she could at the time. She's running a business. She got to pay bills. Like she can't stop, And this woman worked 16 hours a day, every day, no days off for 12 years,
That would run anybody else into the ground.
Like that puts people in the hole.
Yeah.
Like you're 6 feet under doing shit like that with no like true gratification in your life because you feel kind of a little betrayed, obviously, and you feel empty and kind of I couldn't imagine what she was thinking, like going through everything she was having to do and having to do it alone, and it was just a lot, man. I really felt bad for her, and I still feel bad for her. Like I'm so happy she's retired. Like you have no idea how happy I am to know that she's back home, just living her life in this beautiful home, big garden, and all she's doing is sitting around drinking coffee
just
and
doing whatever she
just
wants
gardening and
just doing her own thing.
Just doing her thing, man.
That's
I
good.
love it. And so yeah, the dynamic of being in that, I feel like a lot of kids understand. Divorce is huge in America. It's like,
it is huge.
I think it's like half, if not more.
Is that a big thing in Ethiopian culture? Is divorce? What happened? Do you divorce? Because I know, like, some families, I have a bunch of friends that are
frowned upon.
Hispanic, and it's frowned upon a divorce.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be frowned upon to choose happiness or to choose a better future. In some situations, I don't think other people should judge you. I don't think people should not feel judged for getting divorces. There's like some people that just should not be together. Now, there's a lot that can be said. Is I think abandoning your children should definitely be frowned upon.
Right, sure.
I'm a big fan of frowned upon shit, right?
Yeah. So, get them niggas out of here.
Yeah, get them out of here, man. You better get shit together. I can't even think it.
Right.
Even think about the importance of having a positive role model. And I always say, if a role model isn't right for the job, just like any other leader in the military, you get rid of that person. You're gonna get fucking fired if you do a bad job doing something.
But I think
it's important.
I would like to interject a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
I feel like I think what you said is true to a point, because what you lack is the connection.
Yes.
And the love. That's not there. It's different. And it's something you can't explain when it comes to parents and kids.
Yeah.
That love, it's not the same, man. You can't replicate it.
I would say it's completely irreplaceable.
Absolutely. And I would say that's why that I don't agree with that completely. Yeah. Like I feel like that's like 80% truth.
It's 80. It's a good rating. I would say like more like 75% truth.
Yeah,
but
like
80, I'll take 80. I think that's the 5%. I can't even fathom what life would be like what a normal life would be like. Honestly, man. Like
honestly,
what it would be like to have my dad and my mom together and have a nice life and stuff like that. Couldn't imagine it, because like thankfully I had a stepdad who stepped up and stepped in.
Right.
And
right.
You know what? If I didn't have him,
right,
I would probably be like the most remorseless bad person ever, because I'm trying to fill this gap. Like as kids, we know that hole in our heart is there.
Mm-hmm.
We know that hole in our family unit, our family structure is there.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel it. We can feel it in the finances.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel it in the attention that we're supposed to get, the love we're supposed to get. There's like a 50% missing, and that 50%, that gap, does harm. It does harm. So I think one of the biggest things that really sticks out to me about like thinking about what I'm going to be in the future, I would be a really, really, and this might be just my opinion. I don't want to sit here and say it's everybody's opinion, sure. And I hope it's not everybody's opinion. I love when people reach out and say I'm full of shit. and just talk with me and change my perspective so I can be right all the time. So please do if I'm wrong. But in my opinion, I think it's really fucked up if I were to, father a child without having my boxes checked. So I have my boxes and I look at all of them, right? I'm just gonna say a couple. The first thing I do is my relationship. Is this a strong relationship? Is it new? Do you think I should bring in a child right now? Children are not 10-year puppy commitments.
Absolutely.
They're not 3-year or 1-year apartment leases.
Right.
They're nothing like that. It's a lifelong agreement. Like when you bring this child in this world, and I would feel horrible if I wasn't a good dad, to my fucking kid. So part of that, and what goes into that, what it all entails and stuff is, is my partner a good fit for me? Am I a good fit for her? I don't want to turn into a piece of shit and have my child grow up and see mommy's putting in all the work and daddy's an asshole. That's one thing I got to check. I got to make sure that my traumatic experiences or my life, that whether it's all good or bad, is all in check and I'm okay with that, so I can move forward and learn the lessons and apply them to having a kid. Another thing is I got to make sure, most importantly, more than anything, that I never ever tell my child that the Coast Guard's a branch of the military.
Oh my God.
No, I'm joking.
Come on.
I'm joking. Fuck the Coast Guard. Anyway, it's just a joke. I love my coasties. They actually deploy to more than 3 feet of water. Oh, just put that out there. All right. Anyways, but I check these boxes, and if these boxes aren't checked properly, I'm not ready to have a kid. It's so important to make sure I don't bring be a half-assed parent to my kid. I want to know how to do CPR on the kid. I want to make sure they know what to do when they're choking. The D-choker is a great device I've seen on the internet, right? I want to make sure I have good friends around me too. My friend circle is important, so I cut out the bad seeds one by one. If you're a bad seed and you go, good. I want to make sure there's no weeds in my garden of youth for my child to grow in.
I got you.
Stuff like that. So you know what? I love how your mom's doing gardening and shit. I do some gardening myself.
Really?
With people in my life. So
there it is.
Get rid of the bad ones. And it's not because, and I'm not happy about it. It sucks. It really does suck.
To cut people out of your life?
Yes, because at one point this person could have been great.
Absolutely.
Could have been so great. The memories, the emotions, the laughs, the tears a lot of times. Getting through things together. And sadly, when you have a part of your garden that's has an infection or some fungus is growing there, and those plants are starting to turn rather toxic, your vegetables are spoiling, you got to get rid of that shit.
I mean, yeah, like having friends in your life that no longer serve you in a good way. Sometimes if it's just more of like a distraction in your life, sometimes it can be a hard thing to realize. A lot of the times it's usually like a big blow up that'll happen, and that's unfortunate.
It comes to a head.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people don't anticipate. They don't, and that sucks. But a lot of people also avoid. Maybe they know and they avoid, and that's also the problem. But I agree. Like when you cut people out, it sucks, and I've done it my fair share. And you got to just realize that you'll never be as happy if you don't. And you should feel good in a way. When you make a decision like that, you don't want to have like any sort of self-doubt when you make it, because you don't want to have like second thoughts about it. When you make a decision, try to be as definitive as possible, because my dad always said, when you make a decision, you can never look back. And I don't realize, like, I never really took that into account. I just thought he was quoting like a bad movie or something. But he really meant it. And because
I gotta say it.
Damn, all right, so like, yeah, that was a bad dark joke. I'm sorry.
Hey, no, well, you know what? There's nothing, no such thing as a bad joke here. Fucking A, dude.
You can cut that out later.
Oh no, it's going in there. It ain't going nowhere.
No, but I just honestly though, like I really do think that cutting people out is important, and But yes, it sucks.
It definitely does suck.
Especially you have good ties with them, good memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that my family's grown in massive scale since they kind of shut me out, but I got to say that I'm a lot happier, and I protected my peace.
Protecting your peace, man.
Protecting your peace is so important.
That is huge, man. That's huge.
Yeah, it comes with a lot. Comes with a lot of loss, but you know what? I mourn them in my own special way. Every time I look in the mirror and I ask myself who do I want to be tomorrow. I never look in the mirror and admire myself, whether I'm doing physically great with bodybuilding or something like that, or I never look at the videos of me shooting and say, oh wow, I got 10% better than last time. Awesome, fucking awesome. I look like John Wick, light skin John Wick, or whatever what people call me as a joke at work. But I tell them, and I tell myself this, that am I who I want to be tomorrow? No, still got fucking work to do. And a lot of that work comes with removing those toxic seeds and stems. Like,
right.
You don't want to find seeds and stems in your weed baggie ever. So why would you want them in your life? So I do get rid of them. Get rid of them. But I don't personally smoke weed anymore.
No?
No. My job, drug tests and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm down with it. I'm down with the sober roller life. I'll drink some red wine here and there and down some whiskey on Saturday here and there. But
right. I just never got into drinking, man. It was fun. It was funny because I used to shit on it so much when I was younger. It was really funny. I thought it was funny, man. I would like poke fun at all because like growing up, like I feel like this is a sentiment all people who really enjoy weed kind of go through as a kid, but you get frowned upon from your peers if you're like one of the first ones to really devil into the weed. But then like everyone tries it when you get older. Oh, everyone tries it, right?
They throw caution
and they start exactly, and then they look at you like, you know, hey man, let's smoke one together or something. And it's cool, but it's always like, man, you smoke now? Like that's crazy. Like you used to hate it.
Yeah, I hate this. I would say I don't like smelling it now.
Right.
Now that I can't do it for my job. I don't know if that's a subconscious thing, but I'm super. If I get told to do something and I have to abide by that rule, I abide by the rule 120%. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to breathe it. Fuck, nothing like it. No. So I don't partake. But I don't frown on those who do. I don't think that we should ever frown on anybody for enjoying something. I think we can all agree that it's bullshit that people are locked up for weed charges.
Absolutely. Well, off top. Yeah.
Possessing weed. You're worried about weed?
It doesn't make sense to me that alcohol is legal if weed isn't. Like it's just really as simple as that.
I've lost a lot of friends to DUIs.
Yeah. It really makes no sense. But at the same time, like, you know, I'm not the fucking president or the senators or whatever who makes that goddamn rule.
I think Congress
or
Senate or
there you go.
Somebody who gets paid $2,000, $200,000 taxpayer dollars a year.
I don't really think it's, you know, it doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't. But at the same time, you know, God bless what you do what you do. I don't care if you drink, if you smoke. Really not a big deal either way. But yeah, weed, man, that's so funny. There's so many like memories I've had with it, with good people, like, you know, going to a party, like having a good time. And alcohol, every time I think about a time I've had with alcohol, it's just bad time. Always ended up like super sick or some shit, you know. And I guess at the same time, it's like people will tell me you didn't drink right? Like you didn't drink the right way.
Well, what is the right way?
I don't know. Like maybe I don't know. But I always tell them like it's not really about like, you know, if I drank the right way. I really just don't like alcohol.
That sounds like they're trying to push you into drinking alcohol.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like how society does that.
But it makes sense in a way because it happens all the time with weed. Like if you catch me in the right, if you caught me in the right moment at the wrong time for me, I might say something of like, nah, man, it's just weed. I might say something like that. But at the same time, I understand the sentiment, but I don't take it negatively. I just be like, nah, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hold a cup at the party just to throw people off, so they just leave me alone, so they think I'm drinking.
Oh, sweet.
I just do that, but it's just Coke. I'd be like, yeah, it's Coke and whatever. Coke and Henny, Coke and rum.
Coke and Coke.
Whatever, Coke and Coke, right? Just Coke with ice.
Coke with ice.
Coke, exactly, and a blunt.
That's one thing I'll never do.
Huh.
It really bothered me when it bothers me to the point where I have like many anxiety attacks and shit like that when people say, when I turn down a drink and people press me more.
Sure.
I like my dad was a horrible alcoholic, and I don't ever want to be like that.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah. No,
Ever.
I understand.
And I've seen
I
like
understand.
people lose family members and they go on benders and stuff like that. And I've had my share of alcohol,
Mhm.
and I've really cut it down, and it's not something I necessarily enjoy anymore. I know I just drink just to have something go down my throat, like because
Pause.
well, because I'm not. Well, do you want me to say it? Do you want me to say it? No, because I don't like drinking water all the time. When I was bodybuilding, I was drinking 2 gallons of water a day for a long time.
Right.
So I'm so used to consuming so much, like water, alcohol, whatever the fuck. You're so used to some liquid throughout the day, and sometimes it's bottled of wine, and then I learn my lesson. Half 2 cups of wine, I'm trashed because it's something really strong.
See, my first time getting drunk, I was in Los Cabos. My mom took us to a little vacation.
Oh, sweet.
And I was 16. We were at our resort, all inclusive, free drinks. I felt like it was my time to shine, you know? So I hit that bar. Homie easily knew what I was up to, but he didn't give a fuck. He just trashed me, bro. The bartender got me.
Oh no.
He didn't care. He knew what was up, bro. And I think like he just
like one
he didn't
shot?
stop.
Oh, he
That's
didn't
what I'm
stop.
saying. Like he
Oh,
just didn't stop. He just kept giving me shit.
No.
Because he knew I was an idiot. Like he knew like I didn't get like it's not gonna hit you right away.
Yeah.
Like in my mind at that time, I'm thinking like I took a shot, I'm sipping on the beer, right? And I'm like, man, nothing's happened. Like I don't feel nothing. My stomach's a little warm, but like what the fuck's going on? Like nothing's happening. So he gave me at the end of the time I was there, it might have been like an hour, maybe, right? I drank 3 beers, had 3 shots of Patron, and had 2 Jack and Cokes. I was chugging it because I thought that's what because I saw movies and all you see is them chugging, you know.
It's praised in the movies. If I was not in the
big party,
alcohol,
yeah.
If I was like a recovering alcoholic, I would hate to watch TV or be around people at all, man. And I have friends who don't drink, and it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to.
Sometimes it becomes their personality.
Because well, obviously, like downstairs, I have a fucking bar with a fish tank in it, so a lot of people.
But that's cool.
You know, it is cool. It is really awesome, honestly.
Yeah,
but it can make them uncomfortable sometimes. And
right.
So I have to like make sure, like if they're coming over, I'll put all the alcohol away. Right. And I'll hide it under the bar so they can't see it. Right. Just things that let them know that I give a fuck. Right.
Right.
And I try to make it not obvious that I went out of my way, and I'll put like bottles of water all around the house instead of like. Behind the bar, I'll put all water bottles there and so like that.
Sort of like
and they'll laugh and they'll be like, "Dude, you're trying too hard." But I want to let them know that I support
that. Right. And that's respect, man. That you just have the respect for other people, and that's what it really comes down to. So
I do miss a few sometimes. I'll be honest, because some people just show up at my house during parties and expect they're not.
Right.
You know, it's not a sober.
It's
not usually a sober party. Over here, we get pretty wild sometimes.
But you know, it's funny. I live with my best friends right now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like one of the best. It's the best right now, man. I love my family. I call them my family because that's what the fuck they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but they roast me all the time. They'd be like, Dagem says he hates drinking, but if you give him champagne, he might drink it. You know, if you give him an amber, I might drink it. And they're not wrong, man.
Well,
like, I like champagne.
You don't like it habitually, though, right?
No, I don't even. I haven't had a drink in maybe like a couple weeks, maybe like even since like last month or some shit.
Yeah, sip it here.
Like I don't drink. Like it's not something on my mind. Like I don't think about, you know, oh, I'm off work. Let me go. Let me get home. Let me crack one open. For me, it's like let me get home. Let me roll one up.
Yeah, man.
And that's my piece. You know what I mean? People like a drink. I like a blunt. It's really not that big a deal, man. It's just what it is.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think weed is better for you than obviously the smoke factor is a big thing.
Oh yeah, you still putting shit in your lungs, man.
Right?
You still putting shit in your lungs.
However, there's so many benefits from marijuana. And,
absolutely.
And the different parts of it, like CBD, is great for so many different things. And one of my favorite thing is, before I was on this, I don't drink anything that has to do with weed or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to take a bunch of CBD gummies and have my pain after a car accident go away because I was scared of taking narcotics because I've seen what it does. I've seen the effects of doctors pilling up teenagers and young adults with zero self-control over their brain and watch what happens to them as they end up on the street. And I don't want to be any part of that.
I mean, yeah, I share the sentiment. That's the over medication of our nation is crazy.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
utter insanity. And I've seen
yeah,
people. I've
yeah.
had a lot of friends I work with.
Right.
They're young as me, and they've seen people they knew from middle school and high school on the streets of Seattle, smoking fentanyl and blowing it at kids and mothers as they pass as a
Yeah,
joke. And I think it's funny.
I've seen. Unfortunately, I've seen a couple of our classmates. Yeah, man, I've seen a couple of them not really doing too hot,
It's not
and
good.
it's unfortunate. It's law of numbers, if you want to call it. If you want to not look about it, I mean, if you don't want to think about it or look that way and give a fuck, you can say it's statistics and just say, well, it was going to happen to somebody, right? But if you're,
That's a cold-hearted shit,
but
man.
if you're a person, but if you're a person,
yeah,
and you care even a little bit, you're gonna have empathy, and you're gonna be like, that sucks, and I really wish we could do something about that in the community. And that I really think that comes down to, like, that's one of the things I will say comes that back around to the family dynamics of what I grew up with compared to what I saw with my peers. Um, the fact that, like, you just have respect, and the way you grow up, it's just you have you think outside of yourself. It's not you, it's us.
I like that.
It's always about what you're doing for someone. At least that's how I felt in my family. My parents preached that all the time. um and I really feel bad for a lot of kids when I was growing up, man, because a lot of them were just misunderstood. A lot of them didn't They were just misunderstood, bottom line. And I just feel like that no one really gave them a chance. But kids are kids, right? They're fucking assholes, so they're not gonna always see that. Then they're fucking 14 to 18.
Oh yeah.
So you can't really expect kids to do much, but you hope they're at least a little conscious about their surroundings, at that age. But it is what it is. It's high school.
One of the most
Egos are
enlightening.
crucial.
Oh, egos are definitely crucial in high school.
Egos are just rampant in high school,
Yeah.
So it sucks. I get it.
It's one of the biggest things I learned from the book I listened to recently. I'm gonna be honest. It's my third time listening to it. It's a book by Tim Kennedy, one of my favorite superstars. For like, if there was a Captain America, it would be him. And it's on Audible. It's called Scars and Stripes, and I listened to it 3 times. This is my third time doing it, and hearing his stories, I can't stop myself from beaming, frowning, laughing my ass off, and crying when I hear certain parts of the books. Anything from the fall of the military in Afghanistan, all the way to the things he did to help those kids, and talk about it's a great perspective builder too, because I think about how fortunate I am. Like, I can sit here and complain about my situation, or I can either do something about it. And you touched on something about having empathy for other people.
Yeah,
it really hits me like super different when I sit down with, like, when a vet sits in your seat, or when someone who just experienced different lifestyles. We are all so interconnected, because the same word you used, empathy, can be applied to why a lot of people sign up for the military.
Absolutely.
And I asked him, I said, hey, what does service and sacrifice mean to you? And because it would explain to me, like, a little bit of me for a little bit of them, right? I give up my time. I might die, whatever might happen, doesn't matter. I'm doing it for a little bit of us, right?
Right.
And whatever I'm gonna have this little safety blanket that I put over this little area right here in my household, right? And if all of us give a little bit, or just a little bit more than normal of us give a little bit, the return factor is huge. The same thing can be said about empathy. Empathy, being empathetic, is so important. Caring about other human beings is so important, and not being a self-centered fuck is something I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's crazy because I used to, like, really shit on. Not used to. I still kind of shit on, and it's not good. I'm not saying this in a good light, because it's perspective, but sometimes I gotta tone it down and give it a different light. But I shit on white people a little bit, just a little bit, and it's not good, right? But at the same time, it's like coming back to, like when we saw racism or something like that, right? Or when we really feel like, when we experienced it, when I experienced it, it felt really isolating. It felt, because I was my neighbors were that way, very sweet, very amazing. I didn't feel anything from them. They were always great, but when I would experience it, right, and I would come back, I didn't really have like I didn't feel like it really hit me until I was a little bit older, where I felt, wow, man, like I experienced some shit, and now I have this weird aura for white people that I feel like that wasn't there before, and I felt like it festered a little bit because I didn't have a way to just get it out, you know, and now it's more like in instances I see racism, like I'm a proponent of social media for sure. Like I have my Twitter, I have my Facebook, my Instagram. I love it. I love the internet for the good things, right? But obviously, we all have our receipts, is what I call them. We're not all perfect, man.
Oh, I'm definitely not,
Like
man.
we're not. We sometimes just got to let it out, and sometimes it's not a good way, right? Sometimes it comes off the wrong way, even if you just mean it as a joke. But that's why. But at the same time, I don't like the whole oversensitive vibes I get from everybody these days.
Yes.
I think it's weird. I think even if you have a different perspective, like if you're like for example, like people I don't know about you being a black man, but for me, I feel like sometimes people look at me as like the voice of all of us.
I've been there.
You know what I mean? Like
I've had a teacher do it, and I freaked out.
yeah, like you become the spokesperson.
Yeah.
And you gotta have the answers, man.
Yeah, I got shitty.
You know what I mean?
I got in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I had a teacher that I don't fuck with for sure. But
From Linwood?
oh hell yeah,
Which
bro.
one?
Miss Smith.
Man, Miss Smith was horrible.
Man, Miss Smith was terrible. I don't give a fuck if she hears this either. She was horrible.
She's just. I mean, some people just have
She was
hatred in their.
It was
in their
weird,
soul.
man. It was weird. She
Yeah.
like really tried to. I don't know. Anyway, fucking weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like.
But when you ask me, like, do I feel that way? I really do feel like racism is a big problem, and I know that a lot of people don't see it that way. And I
because that's their perspective.
That's
Because
their
they haven't
perspective.
experienced it.
Correct. And I feel like
I'm happy they haven't.
but I
Yeah.
understand when people who challenge us, who say, I understand you're feeling that way, but can you give us some evidence? Can you give us this A, B, C, D? I understand.
It's not my responsibility.
Correct.
To
It's
pull up traumatic events.
Thank you. And it's weird that you're asking that of us. Like that's not what we're asking at all. If I feel like if I was going to be the spokesperson for Black people, I feel like when we ask for equality or we ask for the right representation in the media or something like that, I feel like those are breadcrumbs. I feel like that's just called. I feel like we're asking for decency still.
Yeah,
in the lowest form, right?
And I think it honestly, it's borderline shameful for us to ask for it.
It doesn't make sense why we're still asking this question.
But because it not just because it just even though once we'll get it or whatever,
right?
It'll just continue.
Yes,
because we'll continue to ask for it more and more because humans are greedy, right? But more importantly than that, if you have to ask for something, right, it's like my wife always says, like if I have to ask for flowers, she'll never ask for flowers. But she says if I have to ask for flowers,
hypothetical.
No, but she says it is a good example for me to understand.
Right,
flowers are a sign of one of my love languages, my signs of caring about you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I value you as a human being, whatever the fuck, right? So when other human beings ask for something and you give it afterwards, they have to ask for it. They might as well have gotten it them fucking selves.
Absolutely.
And that's horrible. It's horrible. So I definitely agree with you that when we have a big issue with, if I sit here and ask for representation and it gets given to me, or there's also another side of the spectrum too, though. That's very dangerous, and these are all slippery slopes. And it's very important that we, as a society, tread very carefully and in the right direction to actually move forward. We cannot ever have the token Black guy or the token Black woman or shit like that just to appease a certain demographic of people.
Correct.
Because it ties into what you said you experienced. So you'd come back to your friends that were all white and you felt uncomfortable. I would say, is that an appropriate word to use?
So when I at the time when I was experiencing like when I was thinking about racism, and like it kind of like infects you in a way of like thinking about it all the time, and then you try to see it everywhere.
And then
when you're first experiencing it, because you're so curious, right?
Mhm.
Because when you see the right representation of racism, then you try to find it everywhere. And sometimes your eyes lie to you, but sometimes they don't. And it's really hard to like decipher sometimes, like, you know, what happens in those instances. Because if you always jump to the race first, then there's no other avenue you can take sometimes. And that's why I feel like there is correct criticism on us sometimes, on Black people, when we ask for certain things, but we don't take advantage of it when we have the attention. You know what I mean?
You know, I completely agree with you, man. Something that really frustrates me. So I went to safety training a couple of weeks ago before I changed into a different department, and surprise, surprise, my reaction was pretty much similar across all the other departments I went to this training, because we all go in our group training together. It was pretty much a session of shitting on anybody who's, and I hate to say it, but a straight white male.
Okay.
There was so many different scenarios they showed, from HR issues all the way to safety issues and racism. They talk about racism, they talk about sexism, they talk about homophobia, they talk about misusing people's pronouns, talk about a bunch of shit, right?
Right.
Whole bunch of shit.
Right.
And you know, I think diversity training is a positive thing.
Okay.
When it's presented properly.
What was the misrepresentation?
The misrepresentation?
Yes.
Every single one of them. It felt to me like I've fucking dealt with racism my whole life, man. It sucks. My biggest issue with it was sitting there and thinking. I looked around in the room as the training was going on the whole time, and watching everybody else's face in the room turn from being attentive to feeling like they were fucking called out because of their skin color. And then I thought for a second, and then I raised my hand, and they paused the video or whatever, and the guy called on me. He was doing the training, and I said, "I want to ask a question." And he said, "All right, shoot, yeah, go ahead, man." And he smiled. He didn't smile
like he was welcoming
you. He was an HR representative, right? So he said, "What's your question, man?" He said, so should I be half offended as a half straight, half white male? Should I have to be half offended about this? Because every single one of these demographics that's being portrayed in the safety training about HR, about racism and all these things, every single one of them shows a straight white guy as being an asshole. Every single one of them. And there was multiple, like a bunch, right? And I asked, we're talking, this training is called inclusion training. Shouldn't there be a different skin colors or something like that in there if we're doing inclusion training or whatever? Why? I said, and I looked around the room. I said, everybody in this room right now is a skilled laborer. We are graded on our skills, not our skin colors, not our race, not religion or creed. None of us in this area give a fuck about what the other person looks like. We got girls who work with us. We got black guys, white guys, gay guys, straight guys. We got anybody. We have anybody that works with us. We don't care about this shit. This shit sounds like some office issues y'all need to deal with in the office, because we don't have time. We're getting the job done. We don't have time to look at numbers and then bullshit during coffee time about what Jill and John did this weekend when they were married to so and so, right? We don't do that shit.
Right.
I think there is a specific difference between a lot of these office workers and the issue they're having, because they have downtime, right? When you have downtime, you have time to gossip about keeping up with the Kardashians. You have time to talk about what this person said, he said, she said shit. We don't do that shit in the field. And I live in a blue collar environment that was predominantly tied to, you had to be like an elevator guy to be in the elevator union, or have a brother who's an elevator guy.
Okay, so it's like a generational thing.
It used to be a good old boy thing, right?
I got you. Right.
You know, it used to be like, oh, well, you have to know so and so to get in the union, or we're gonna kick you out, right?
Right.
It's
a private club.
Like a private club kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
Okay.
But the office, however, is. And so they were giving us this training, and I had a big issue with it. I said, one of my biggest issues with today is we sit here in this room. You stopped us from being productive on a job site, literally making us or the company money, and now we're sitting here talking about how everybody in this training, and forgive me if I'm fucked up for this, but every single person in this room, they all should look pissed off and annoyed that they're having to sit through this. Do you think they're really going to pay attention when they're being singled out? And I said, I feel like I'm being half singled out for being a half white male. And should I tell my mom that she needs to come to this training because she's white? No, that's just one example though, right? I think there are a lot of people out there that there is some fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
There definitely is some fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of the other side of that spectrum that doesn't get looked at as well. And it's not that the training is poor. Whoever designed that thing, but whoever designed this training for my company, dude, if I sat you through it for 6 hours, you would have tried to pull your eyes out. It was like horrible.
Well, they always are.
It was horrible. I wish they would just have open forum conversations and try to break down these walls that divide us as humans. Like you and me, you came from an Ethiopian background.
Yeah.
I'm completely out of touch with my African roots.
Sure.
The neighbor next door, they're all white. The neighbor across the street, they're all Mexican.
Okay.
One of them's been deported like 3 times. He's great. Okay.
He's great.
If you look to the house to the left,
Uh-huh.
it's Mrs. White's parents. My mom used to babysit her. If you look to the neighbors to the left of us, they're in a great family. They go to school with Rand's little brother.
Mm-hmm.
The dad is a hard worker. Every day he walks to school and picks up his kid and walks back. He wears construction gear, smiles every time he sees me. If he doesn't know you, he won't smile at you. A lot of people might think he's racist, but he's just not very social. He also recently graduated AA, and he's been sober living for a long time. He's doing great things. We don't know these things unless we get past that original layers. If you look at everybody from the skin color, we're never gonna get better, man.
I would like to talk about the HR training first.
Yeah, please. Have you gone through any similar training, or was it a positive experience?
Well, company? it's okay. I want to say this. This is like I think it'll encompass everything. But what I wanted to ask was, do you think you guys were focusing on the wrong things?
In what way?
I feel like the point of the HR training, right, is to just give you guys give the understanding of how to treat people with differences. That's the bottom line, right?
Yes.
Right.
In a positive way. If it was put together in a positive way,
right?
Whoever built this shit,
right?
Like it was.
Was it just the pictures?
No. It was a point. It was to the point where I was getting like frustrated watching it.
Who was the HR person?
The HR person. Well, they made our managers because they wouldn't fly out for it. They made it in like a different area than here, and they made our HR person, or they made our regular HR person do it.
I feel like I want like. Do you have any example of what they've said that you could say without getting like, I guess, deplatformed here? Because I want context to give you a better response, because I feel like because in the end of the day, I don't know what you experienced, right? In my mind, I'm just thinking it was, like the pictures.
Yeah, totally.
Or something.
I got you. So every single picture, every single description, and there was so many different scenarios.
Sure.
Every single one of them, straight white male.
It really said that?
It was a straight white male doing it.
Okay.
And it was clear that it was a straight white male. And if it was anything otherwise, I probably wouldn't have noticed.
If it was all black people, what would you say?
If it was all black people, I would have been pissed off as well.
Okay.
I would have been probably more pissed.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Okay.
Here we go.
I had my buddy just tell me last week. It said, "Bro, I just realized." And I said, "What?" I don't want to be fucked up. Are you half white? I said, "Yeah." I had no idea. And I said, "Me either." like a lot of people don't realize, like, if it was all black people the whole time, they're doing the fucked up shit, I would have freaked out too.
I feel like
I feel like
if it was fucked, bro, I trust your
judgment. If it's like diversity training,
right?
Make it diverse is what my point is.
Okay.
Because how long was it the black guy?
All the time.
All the time. How long was it the black guy getting shot first in movies?
All the time.
How long?
To this day, though.
How long was it just the all white princesses on Disney, or we can go down the list, right? How long was it?
Tore up that mermaid.
Black guys getting underpaid. How long was it? women being treated like less thans in acting and all these things. How it was a
Sure.
very long time.
Right.
Just flipping the script
Doesn't help,
on
right?
somebody that it literally has nothing to do with
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily help. You know, my point is, and when I brought up, I said we can sit here through this bullshit training,
Mm-hmm.
or I can tell you right now, this is going to sow seeds of dissent throughout our ranks because we talk about being inclusive. Okay, let's do it. Are y'all going to be inclusive? Everyone said yeah. They nodded their head, and I said, okay, well, why don't we start including a better demographic spread it throughout? I don't. You know what? If we want to talk about including people, how come there were no women leads in the background talking during the videos? And I went down the list of all the flaws in their statement
Mm-hmm.
because their like mission goal was to make sure people were being inclusive. If you're going to be inclusive, let's be inclusive 100%. Don't 50% it or just flip flop it to try to make the noise go down from the black people who are pissed off. I feel like in society they've done that a couple times. They say, okay, well, we'll just flip flop it just to shut the black people up because when the niggas are pissed off.
I feel you. I'm like really trying to like make sure I say I give it thought, you know, because I don't want to just say something. Yes, I feel like at the end of the day, the diversity training should be diverse. I feel like that goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty self-explanatory, and I agree that if it was truly that way, then that does not help the narrative that you're trying to create because people are visual.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to give them, it's got to be both
Examples.
Your words and the actions have to match for them to understand the best way, right?
And what if they
Right.
were raised in those families of generational hatred?
Yeah, that's fair.
And they've never seen anything different.
Absolutely.
Like I remember being one of the first ever black people that one of the sailors on my ship had ever seen.
Oh wow.
Like
okay.
His first black person was at boot camp. And then it was after that the department was like, I'm gonna be honest, man, I've never seen people with different skin colors than mine before. Yeah, it just wasn't a thing. And it was raised super fucking racist. And so I had this great opportunity to show this person how great life is when you're not attached to this idea of hating someone else's other skin color.
Right.
And dude, I should have stayed in contact with that guy. I really wanted to know, like in hindsight, like how is his life now? Because I know he was pissed.
Yeah.
He was really upset. He was pissed at his family.
Right.
He was ashamed of them.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even want to be related to them.
I feel like disassociating the problem from your everyday people, people need to get better at that. Because let's say we're talking about racism, right? And we're talking about white people right now. Yeah. If we're talking about that negative hatred that some of those families unfortunately have, if you want that to come across the right way, then you're gonna have to give them the examples, the whys and the whats, and you're gonna really have to give it to them in a proper manner, because otherwise all you're doing is giving them ammo to hate them instead of trying to really work together. And I really feel like people miss the opportunities in the conversations. Like if you have the opportunity without getting harmed to talk to a racist person who really hates you in that moment because of just who you are in that moment, and you can actually have a conversation for once with him or her, I feel like that's something you should do. And as uncomfortable as it is, as horribly that you might feel in your heart or your head, and however much these people banter you with the words that you don't want to hear, I feel like if you can just get them to talk to you, a lot of them would realize they don't have a foundation that makes sense, and it would crumble underneath them unless. But you have to try.
Yeah.
There's no going forward without the trying.
Mm-hmm. I agree, man, 100%.
Yeah.
I love talking to people who are racist. I really do.
I feel like you have to, otherwise you're never going to get them to have the perspective.
Yeah.
If all their perspectives are the way movies project black people, or TV shows, or their church, for example, if for whatever reason their church is racist as fuck, then that's just another layer to their soup of crap that they have to get through. before they can really look at themselves.
100%, dude.
And that's any problem though.
Mhm.
If you don't have the way to looking at yourself,
One of my friends
then it's just
from the Navy, I completely agree with you, dude. One of my friends on that topic, it just makes me reminds me, like one of my friends from the Navy, like he was like, "Can you turn that shit off?" When I was playing rap music. And
wow, okay.
I'm like, why? I'm like, why?
Right.
And he's like, dude, do you not hear like what's in that shit? And so I paused my shit, and I'm like, what do you mean what's in that shit? And he said, I've never heard any country star talking about walking up and shooting another black dude shooting another white dude in the face,
right?
Or another Asian person talking about running up and stabbing an Asian to death,
right?
Or selling drugs,
sure,
and eroding the community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he was just like really, really visibly upset about this, like that he's hearing these words about hurting, like harming another human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't country music doesn't talk about it. Why are they talking about like killing each other? And I stopped and I thought about it, and I'm like, that's insanity. And now we have these things, and fast forward, like that was back in 2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to now, we just yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
We have rappers being killed. We can go down the list. P&B Rock, freaking King Von.
Mm-hmm.
We can just keep talking. Nipsey. We can talk about. Yeah. We have a sadly our hip hop culture does promote harming other black people, and I've never heard of another culture that talks about that.
To a certain degree, I have to agree.
Yeah, but that being said, I fucking love the music, right?
Well, no, that's not where I was going with it. I feel like, well, yeah, obviously it's fire, right? Rap music's fire.
It is what it is.
No one's gonna tell me otherwise.
But it's bumping,
it's bumping. But I would argue it's like to a certain degree, it's almost like if you say a racist listens to country music, does that mean the country music is racist? Like again, it's almost like the gun thing. Like, do guns kill people, or do people
100%, dude?
So it's not necessarily the art that's that's making us kill people, right? But it's the lack of parental guidance.
I would say it's also a filter.
It's just
filter for
to understand that you have to it's just, this is make believe.
Yes, and you
have to keep it there.
And maybe that's their lifestyle.
Right.
It doesn't have to be yours.
You can enjoy their art, but you don't have to be the art. You know what I mean? So it doesn't. I understand the sentiment that they're bringing by saying that, because it's not fair for me to be like, no, that's not what it is. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's a lot of it. That's what it is, right? But
they're not inherently responsible for creating.
Correct.
For creating more violence.
It's the individual. You have to give the individual the demerit or whatever. You got to give that individual it, not the art. Because
I'm gonna need you to stop using big ass words, because I'm running out of understanding. I'm just playing, man. No, but I do agree. You have to, that might be that person,
right?
And that artist's expression,
right.
Who fucking said it the best? Like Eminem would talk about it. Stop blaming me. Like hip hop and Kendrick Lamar would talk about it. A lot of rappers have talked about it. I'm not here to be a role model for the kids. I'm here to talk about things that I've experienced in my fucking life. I'm here to talk about something that I'm getting things off my shoulders that I'm feeling. And I believe, like, that's why I'm so into self-expression. Sitting here with someone who, whether I know them really good or really not good, whether I like them or not, whether I have had bad experience with them or not, sitting here in front of microphones and just having a conversation, it breaks down these things that society puts as standards, right? Society says, okay, well, you're supposed to be this way because you're black, this way because you're white. Society says a lot of things that are very harmful and negative to each other. A lot of times we classify this as good or bad. Free speech is so important.
Yeah.
We live in a country where women don't have to cover themselves up.
Sure.
We live in a society where you don't have to bow your head and pray unless you decide you want to. And we live in a country where you can defend yourself using a firearm against bad people. There's so many other constitutional and rights that we have as Americans in this country, and especially as visitors coming in here, it's still in my idea, it's a land of opportunity, because my friends are still coming here.
Yeah,
I cannot tell you how many friends I have that have come here from other countries, and I love it. I love hearing what their experiences are like and what breaks us down as different households. I don't know what it's like to grow up with food that's not either Italian or American based. But I love the idea of my mom saying, you know what, we're gonna celebrate Kwanzaa this year. Like that was wild for me because I didn't know what Kwanzaa was about.
Right.
My mom celebrated every single holiday under the sun that we could possibly fucking celebrate, right? Just so I can understand different cultures.
Yeah, man,
If
that's beautiful.
and
That's
if we didn't
good.
have that, I wouldn't have perspective. I always want to gain new perspective and learn more.
There's like there's like this new, not new, I'm sorry. There's like this energy a lot of people carry right now with like cultural appropriation, right? And that stuff gets thrown around a lot lately, and I've been hearing it. And it, to a degree, I understand why people kind of like are hesitant almost to enjoy something because they're afraid of how they look.
Well,
They
they
don't
call
want
Drake a culture vulture.
they don't
right?
exactly they don't want to look disingenuous when they're doing the act or enjoying something. But it doesn't make sense to me that, again, it goes back to like the whole, you don't want to look at the differences, what you said earlier. I feel like and then I was like, you definitely got to look at the differences, because that's how you appreciate culture.
Fuck yeah.
You got to look at it and look at it hard and enjoy it the best you can. And I think a lot of that has to do with if you have the right kind of lens that your parents give you. Sometimes you can develop it on your own, God bless, and sometimes you don't. A lot of people don't. And being shut off to others just because of differences, or you don't understand, or maybe you just inherently, on first glance, you don't like them. Sometimes that happens. We're people. We're not perfect. I would say try your best to at least give it a chance, because there's definitely been people back in the day, as you said, you think I was one of the nicest people. I definitely had people in high school who did not like me,
and they suck probably.
Well, no, man, I honestly think it's like I probably said something wrong in one day, and they heard it, and they were like, "Fuck that guy," and that's fair. I'm not perfect, bro. I might have said something fucked up. I might have rubbed them the wrong way. Maybe they don't like me for me. Then that's their fault.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
their problem. But at the end, what I'm trying to get at is like, I don't want people to be afraid to be themselves. But you can't expect everyone to like you either.
100%.
And that's okay.
Oh, I love when people don't like me, because then I can convince them that I should be liked. No, I'm just I'm just fucking playing,
no,
man.
but we gotta coexist, even if we don't like each other.
And if like these differences that we have between households and between the thing that break us up, we have different job titles, we have different skill sets. All of us can do this crazy thing, and we come together around the holidays, and we're nice to each other.
Right.
We should be that nice 24/7, 365. And I know I make a lot of jokes and shit, but it's been part of my current mission in life right now, to connect with different people, different demographics, learn more from them, learn what I'm wrong and right with, change my perspective so I can be a better servant of the world. If I'm getting calls from people that are on the fence of committing suicide, and I have zero way of connecting with them, chances are I'm going to say the wrong thing. Sadly it is.
Okay.
When the more I gain from that, it's great. And I'm not. I've recently received the comment that I'm not an operator. I'm not a special hotline operator, and I shouldn't be taking calls from people who are on the fence about harming themselves. And at first I was like, okay, maybe, and I felt a little bit disheartened. And then I remember, wait a second, you don't have to be a specialist to care. You don't need to have all the right answers.
You don't have to have any answers.
You don't have any answers. And so the great thing about doing this and sitting with people is just learning more, asking questions, laughing, making badly timed jokes.
Yeah,
all these things that I do.
I think depression and dealing with that kind of stuff, man, is huge, and it affects everyone differently. And I definitely had my fair share of it. I'm really happy that I had the willpower or whatever it was at the young age to realize I needed someone to talk to. And I'm really happy I got through that at a young age.
Wow.
but it definitely helped mold me to like, understand. I feel like I have a good sense of empathy, but like I understand how to like, I don't know, man. I feel weird sometimes about it because sometimes I feel like I care too much about things I shouldn't. It's all about that, understanding to care about what you control or what you can't control and not caring about that stuff. But sometimes I can't help but care about it.
You can care about a lot of things.
Yeah. And it can get overwhelming, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it can get a little overwhelming and you waste your emotional energy where it shouldn't go. And you don't have enough for yourself.
There's a lot of wisdom in that, man.
So I feel like you got to be okay to not pour yourself into everything. It's important not to do that because I feel like if you don't have enough for yourself at the end of each day, then you start to lag and you start to miss a step. I feel like, and being kind of like what you said earlier, man. I really appreciate what you said about you don't have to have a license to care. You don't, because there's people out here who you can influence involuntarily. You know what I mean? And you don't have to be around them for them to feel that you care. It's just how you act, how you behave, how you carry yourself. And I think a lot of people will tell you in life you shouldn't care what others think about you. I understand to a degree what they mean, but you should care what others think about you, because I've always been taught if one person says something about you, it might not be true, but if 10 people say the same thing about you,
shit, man, that makes me God. That makes me really, really. So try to rethink my whole life. I want to go home and rethink my life.
There's
Star Wars quote there. So
I think there's a lot of contradictions in a lot of what people say to people, and it doesn't make sense to me. And that's one of them. Like I really don't. You should care what others think about you, because it proves who you are. Everyone always screams, "It's not what you say; it's your actions." People remember actions, right? So if they remember your actions, then they have an opinion about you. That matters.
Resonates with me.
That matters. What people think about you matters. There's no more shame in this country. We need shame and embarrassment back in this country. I am full proponent of it because it makes you understand where there's boundaries in society for the benefit of you and everyone. It's not about always expressing yourself all the time. Sometimes you have to understand, like, what you say fucking matters, man. People care what you say. And if you walk around life acting like, if you just have these blinders of like, whatever, everyone else's opinion doesn't matter, I'm just going to do my own thing.
Oh, like fuck everybody else.
Fuck everybody else. That's where it leads.
So toxic.
And that's what we have. No one cares. Because there's no more shame in what we do. We don't have boundaries anymore. Damn. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, man.
And I feel like people like always contradict themselves sometimes when it comes to how they act around people or what they say. It just doesn't make sense to me sometimes. But at the same time, I understand that I'm also a person. I make these mistakes. I work through it every day. I'm not fucking perfect. So
I don't think anybody should be perfect. And classifying yourself as someone who doesn't give a fuck how people feel or think or say is like the worst thing. This is the worst type of human you can be.
Yeah.
Because human beings, we're not supposed to be isolated. We're supposed to
be around,
interconnected.
Yes.
And have great conversation.
Yes.
Have differences, discuss them, gain new perspective, and move forward in that. With that decision. Decision is Latin. Comes from the word scission or incision, right? Which means to cut, right? And so decision, you're cutting off all the rest of the things in the area. And when you make that decision, you have to live with it. You can't make a good decision to cut off the care of who you are, because the second you stop caring about if not, I'm not saying do it for them, but at the end of the day, do it for you. Me, I'm a self-conscious individual. Yeah. I wouldn't say self-conscious. I'm sorry about that. I'm self-aware.
Sure.
I'm self-aware. Yeah. So when I say something that I'm wrong for and someone brings it up to me, I always say, well, I appreciate you bringing that to me. I'm going to move forward in a more positive light. And I say that regardless of if I'm going to agree with them or not, because someone brought something to me and it brings me perspective. It's so important to change,
Having,
to listen,
yeah, man,
to
evolving
be
matters.
ashamed of your fuck ups too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I don't think people have that anymore. I think people fuck up and they just move on without realizing what it meant to them.
So what you said there is so freaking powerful on different levels. I really do agree with you, man. I think people have forgotten. People have let go of caring about what other people think. I think it's important to care about what other people think, not necessarily to let it control you.
Yes, exactly. I'm not saying the extreme of that either.
But listen here and there, because you might learn something new.
Absolutely.
I can't stand people that are like, oh no, I'm right.
And this is my
just blindly following somebody random, like.
Oh, and this is probably going to be my first experience with like people's comments about what I say and stuff like that. But I'm not saying that in the extreme at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy you said that, because I should have clarified for sure that I didn't mean when you should care, it means it should control you. Mm-hmm. No, but it should influence you.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Well, I got what you meant. I don't know if they did, but
just for people who didn't, and I wanted to clarify. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's so important to be
self-aware is 100% what it was.
Self-aware over self-conscious.
Yes, exactly.
Self-aware over self-conscious, but pride is the downfall of all great men. I say it so many times to my wife's little brother. Every time he gets bombastic and full of
ego.
Just full of ego. I say, I pull aside and say, pride is the downfall of all great men. Don't be a prideful fuck. Go get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Go do great things.
Be humble.
I say go do great things all the time. Humble yourself. This conversation's over. Put some respect on that person's name. I mean, the jokes, but the jokes are embedded with lessons, and and they've all been taught by people way smarter than me. I always say, listen to people that are smarter than you, and you might get a little bit smarter.
Absolutely.
I don't often use big words. I try to dumb things down for people. I don't want to be disingenuous though, and at the same time, so I try to keep things as simple as possible for them to understand.
Yeah, a lot of people should just learn to listen more, to listen and not respond. A lot of people only listen to respond, and they're not having the conversation. They're just getting their points across, letting someone else get their points across, not hearing it, and then saying more of what they want to say. And that's what conversations have been like, and that's what you see on like comment sections, and that's what you see like, well, not much in real life anymore because people don't talk, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you want to genuinely understand somebody and all you're doing is responding. You got to really internalize what people say when they talk to you. Take a second. My uncle always said, shut up for 5 seconds. Think about what they said. And then think about what you'll say. Because don't just open your mouth. You might say something stupid. And even if you do, you're human, you can fuck up. But try to do as less of that as possible, and that's your responsibility.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a lot of wisdom that comes with just stop. I always stop and think. People say stop, look, and listen before you cross the street.
It's like so simple.
I think of stop, look, and listen before I cross somebody else, because I've been known in the past to get very, very frustrated with people.
Like very fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on your childhood, you think certain things are socially acceptable and some things are not.
Right.
That you've learned, and you learn that later in life. I've been very, very blessed with the opportunity to try to right my wrongs, and I'm trying to do that now. In my adult years, like I'm 29, I'm not even 30 years old. I'm gonna be 30 next June, and my 20s have been filled with a whole lot of life lessons. And
that's what it should have been.
I really want to have kids and shit, but like before I do that, I'm really focused on just wrapping up these kind of things I've been really working on. I've been working on my mental health. I've been working on being more violent and in the right ways, and less violent in the wrong ways.
You talking about like the Jordan Peterson thing?
Well,
is that what you mean?
No,
by the violent thing.
I would say no, not necessarily in Jordan Peterson's perspective. I would say being more violent in as far as being better with firearms, being better with. I'm starting a jiu-jitsu journey.
Oh, learn violence so that way when it comes, you don't have to like be scared about it and stuff.
Well, yes. Yeah. Well, and the better trained you are,
absolutely,
the less you react, the more you just do, right? So instead of something happening and me saying, "Oh, I'm gonna think about this. Oh, this is what I should do." Fuck that. Let's have it just being natural.
Mhm.
Cool, calm, and collected is the best way to respond in any situation, and also not being hesitant is very important. You cannot say, "Oh God, this is a new thing for me. What should I do? Should I run or should I fight? Shit, I'm standing here. 3 seconds has gone by. Now you're a victim." Making analyzing critical risk, and making decisions based on that information is so important. So, better with firearms, better with physical violence, me harming another human being, but understanding when it's to be employed. Violence is not. I always say this to my little brother. Violence is not a response. Like if you hit me, I'm just gonna take a couple steps back and be like, "Dude, why the fuck you do that?"
Mhm.
And then if you really want to like be violent, we can be violent then. But I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Violence is to be used as a solution to a problem. So if he's being bullied at school, and he's brought it up to the bully first, and then he's snitched to the teacher.
Mhm.
I hate snitches.
Yeah, me
Snitch
too.
to the teacher,
Yeah, for sure.
and then that's not resolved. Okay, defend yourself.
That's what my dad said.
You tried every avenue other than violence.
Yeah, don't just get trampled.
And it's not a necessary response. You're not doing this back. Like, oh, you're bullying me, I'm gonna bully you back. It's not that. It's stopping a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how I believe violence should be employed. And we can create these lessons for ourselves with situations I face in Seattle. People try to rob me at knife point, and I make good decisions not to shoot sometimes because one, I don't like paperwork. Two, I don't like having to deal with lawyers and cops. And three, death is not something to just be passed out. Like at the end of the day, it's somebody's kid and shit, right? So we have to be cautious, be careful, and concerned citizens, and make good decisions. And that's what I mean when I say how to employ violence better. To be a better protector, not a better asshole with a gun.
Absolutely.
Or a better asshole with fists.
Sure.
Or asshole with words either.
I agree with you, man. I think that violence is an unfortunate part of humans. And we should learn how to deal with those situations. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't think being sheltered from them is the right solution in any capacity. The whole gun thing is weird for me.
How so?
I don't know, man. I almost feel now this is just my 2 cents, and
that's okay. Share, man.
And I'm sorry, but
that's why you're here for. I want to know.
But it feels like we don't deserve them almost. Like people just don't get it, and because I agree with the Second Amendment wholeheartedly, but I doubt us as people to uphold it the right way.
I see what you're saying, man.
And it's just a weird conflict in me because it's like, I don't know, because for me, it's like the easiest solution in my mind. Obviously, taking it a step further matters, but in the instance, it makes sense to take them away, right? Because then if there's no more guns, no more, nobody gets hurt. But then you have the whole idea of just because you make it illegal doesn't mean it's not going to be here.
Well,
and that's the biggest fucking problem. And then only the criminals have it.
Well, exactly.
And only criminals will get it because if it's illegal, you're a criminal if you have it.
And we've also seen societies, like every single society that's banned firearms, we've seen exactly what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's called authoritarianism.
Yeah, for sure.
I've listened to a lot of different people say a lot of different ways of this. Active shooters have, like, for instance, just on a child platform, active shooters have destroyed parts of my family, man. And you can't replace a dead child, no matter how many. How many ways.
I respect your brother that patrols the schools himself.
Yeah, Anthony, man.
What's that gentleman's name?
Anthony Tripp.
Tripp. Yeah, shout out to that guy.
Smear campaign on him.
Really?
Yeah, King 5, Como 4, or Como.
What are they labeling him as or something?
7, like an armed vigilante. I reached out to all these people to say, hey, let's shed some light on this, what this positivity he's doing.
Yeah.
In a world of people who are so distraught and so frustrated and so deranged, that they've decided to take a step and get a hold of a firearm. And it's not hard to get a hold of firearms.
No.
I don't give a shit how are you lock them up or anything like that. Like Taliban overseas, they're gonna do Taliban shit. People who want to harm other people here are gonna do it, whether with a gun or not.
Right.
We've seen it with a recent hammer attack on somebody, a senator's husband or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, weapons are weapons. The mind is what's really dangerous. So, like, I love what Anthony's doing down there.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to be a armed concerned citizen. To be an armed citizen is important. The biggest issue I see with us having firearms is firearm ignorance. And firearm ignorance is me saying, okay, here's a gun for you, man.
Thanks.
And I'm the salesman, right? And then
Right.
to the left of me, you have someone who owns taxes, who is funded by your taxpayer dollars, right? And they are in charge of making rules and restrictions, right?
Right.
So if I say, okay, hey, I need you to, do you have any 15-round magazines
No.
for sale over here? Okay, so you can't sell those to him anymore, right? So I just took more bullets away from you in your magazine that goes in the gun that is employed to do what? To deal death or a form of lethal force
There you go.
to a bad person, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So if we're going by legal
terms,
by legal terms,
yeah.
So that is what we have.
Sure.
And then on the other spectrum, we have a criminal. You know, I love that word so much. Crime and all, right? It's like fucking perfect because they will do any and all crimes. They don't give a shit. They don't care about the rules. I wouldn't care if I was a criminal. I wouldn't care about what a piece of paper says. Why would you limit someone who would follow the law? You think criminals are gonna stop at 10 rounds? It's utter insanity, and I get the idea behind it, but every modern day, like if I was army, and now I think about it in this way, if I wanted my little sister to be safe, right, I would want her to have as many chances at fighting off her potential attackers who want to kill or do worse things to her,
right?
And at that point, it's a deadly force encounter. So I'd want her to get trained. I don't see a lot of sheriffs or sheriff deputies and stuff like that putting on taxpayer-funded training sessions. It's the big issue I'm having. So I'm looking into the future of working with some of the sheriffs in our state to enact that. Why is there no free? Like we pay for taxes, we pay for the roads, we pay for all these senators and congressmen and women to make all this money and buy these large mansions and shit. It's weird. Why can't we divert some of these things instead of making all their friends' pockets fat? Why don't we do some firearms and kids stuff? So let's take all the kids and the parents who want to teach a kid about firearm and how to stay away from it. So all right, young ones, what do you do if somebody shows you a gun and that want to hear all the kids yell back, "Tell my mom and dad"? That's what simple shit.
Sure.
We need to empower the community to be responsible gun owners. We cannot have people be responsible gun owners and expect everybody to be on that same page at the same time. So I like to look at it as inherent responsibility on this armed citizen. So me as gun owner, everybody in my house knows how to work with firearms,
right? And
the safety rules.
Right.
They know what not to do, which is way more important than what to do, and they know when it's important not to shoot, and then would they learn when it's important to shoot. So it's not about going straight to removing guns. Removing gun ignorance is what I believe. I don't want to get another fucking phone call that one of my cousins is dead because of firearm ignorance.
Right.
It sucks. It's personal experience. It fucking sucks to see the whole family devastated by firearm ignorance. And it really sucks to see people that I babysat growing up on the news dead and active shooter as well.
Yeah, that's always like so tough to just like think of like as big of a picture as you can so it encompasses everybody the right way. These are such deep issues that we inherently have right now, and it seems like there's like not any solutions almost, because it's almost like this weird tug of war. But if you like, I definitely agree with the Second Amendment, like wholeheartedly, and I think we should have them. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there needs to be more community involvement with our, even with our military, and our fellow police officers around across America. We definitely need to have more community involvement with them, because because like I understand that there's this weird thing that like hangs over black people, and I feel like it hangs over you maybe. So you tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like
You're
there's
gonna love it. You're gonna love my response. I already know.
like you're almost like you have to hate cops, like you have to. And I understand, like I fucking get it. Like trust me, I understand why it would be easy to just say yes, I hate cops, but you're not thinking it fairly. It's not fair.
I hate bad cops.
I hate bad cops. There,
Yeah,
you have to
with
say
a
that.
fiery passion.
Yeah,
The word
horribly.
bad.
Yeah, like they deserve to be under the jail.
Dude,
Like
there's bad grocery store workers.
you know what
Okay?
I'm saying?
There's
And
bad people in the
but this
fucking
is almost
military.
taboo to say as a black person.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's
Oh,
really
yeah.
weird. I don't like it. I
Well,
think it does not make sense to, because like if you really think about it, you guys, if there's no cops, what the fuck are you gonna do?
dude, you're gonna
What,
call
like
911
that makes
with that
no
gun.
sense.
I had a great conversation with my friend. Super anti-gun, and I don't care. I'm okay that he's free thinking. I love free thinking Americans, right?
Yeah,
I anti-gun, anti-cop, anti everything, right? And
right.
pretty much. And I said, hey man, so what are you gonna do if shit gets bad and someone like me breaks or not like me, someone that breaks your house? What are you gonna do? And he said, well, I'm gonna call you. And I said, listen, you know that's bullshit, right?
Right.
And he said, yeah, I know it's bullshit. I just can't get past it.
It's
I can't get past what's happened.
Yes.
And you know what? I agree. It's really hard, and we shouldn't get past what's happened to our black. No, for real. Like we should not get past what's happened to our black brothers at the hands of abusive, small dick cops.
Absolutely.
Who beat the shit out of us in the streets.
Absolutely. Target us for no reason.
Love it every second because they got picked on as a child.
Yep.
You know, and they got a little bit of SDS going on.
And now they got all the authority in the world to do some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important that we, you know, and how can we make sure that doesn't happen anymore? We can elect good sheriffs who have a talking point of making sure every cop has a body cam. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything. I think body cams are good, and cops should too. Because if you are in a shooting instance and you have to face a family who's suing you wrongfully for the death of their, you know, criminal family member who was in a shootout with you, and you say, oh, well, they had this, and they're like, oh no, it's bullshit. You just murdered them or whatever. And you can use the body cam footage to exonerate yourself. So no officer should have an issue with body cams logistically, right?
That's what I feel.
That's just my perspective.
I feel the same way. And if you're not going to be a bad cop, why do you care?
Yes. Well,
literally.
And also, the crazy thing about it is you're a public servant.
Thank you.
So you're a public servant. It doesn't, at that point, it doesn't really matter. It matters what the public wants. And this is my conversation with all my cop buddies, and they wholeheartedly agree because they're not douchebags, right? So, and I get what it's like to not want to be under the lens.
It sucks.
There's plenty of other jobs, and I say this with, I don't back the blue. I back good officers who do good work. So if you're not doing good work and you don't want your good work to be, if you don't want your good actions to exonerate yourself and you're nervous about your job, I'm gonna be honest. I understand being nervous as a cop. But
how could you not?
But I'm more nervous about bad cops around me. And I'm not saying be a fucking snitch. And I get there's a lot of shit with the job that you got to sweep under the rug. And you got to make shit happen sometimes.
And that's unfortunate as fuck.
We have shitty people, legislators. We have people who don't want to press charges, prosecute. My family and my friends are dealing with very violent rapists and murderers and shit like that, who are being re-released by shitty prosecutors, which is why you have to make informed voter decisions. You can't vote for someone just because they make you feel good, sadly. And I don't want to get on a political bullshit tangent or whatever, but back to cops, it's super important to make sure we have the right sheriffs who support the right things. If our sheriff is not on the same page, we're all in trouble, because these sheriffs do great things. The sheriff is not a city cop, and the sheriff is not a city police officer. The sheriff do sheriff shit, and that's why I'm trying to reach out. And they do countywide shit too. They work with the police officers. They're like the glue in between these little nooks and crannies called incorporated areas of Snohomish County that we have here. Unincorporated Snohomish County is Linwood Walmart.
Right. That's
right there.
It's right there.
And I'm so thankful. So thankful. I would be a horrible liar if I said I wasn't thankful for the Snohomish County sheriff's deputies in my life. I would be a bold-faced liar if I said I wasn't pissed that the Tacoma PD didn't have body cam footage when they put a shotgun in my face and beat the shit out of my dad in front of me. So, there are good cops and bad cops.
Yeah, man. I'm actually curious about your perspective on it, even if it's a little bit.
I'll be honest, dude. We put it all out there.
Yeah. So like when the whole Black Lives Matter started, and then the response to it was White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter,
I think it doesn't need a response.
or Blue Lives Matter, even for the cop side.
Yeah. Pretty cringeworthy, right?
It was just okay. My perspective is this on all that stuff, because that was directly created because of police brutality.
Yes.
And Colin Kaepernick. I feel like when Black people first started the movement of BLM, it was the right response. It was the right message in the beginning, and it was the right actions to go to.
150,000%, yes.
The execution of everything was fucking horrible, and it was dog shit, and it was like
it went really south.
It just went so south. And it was because of the derailing of all those other things I had just mentioned, the All Lives Matter and the Blue Lives Matter. When you have the distraction, this is what happens to Black people all the time. All the time. This happens perpetually to us in history. When we start to have a positive outlook on us, and we start to not look outwards, we start to look inwards, and we fix ourselves. Whoever they is, pulling out DJ Khaled on them, they derail us so well. They know what to say to us. They know how to get us off of the limelight in the right way. They put us in that negative light all the time. It happens all the time to us, and I feel so bad because we saw it for once in our life. Like, how like our parents went through, well, not mine, but if you have parents who grew up in like the 60s and the 70s, they were during the civil rights movements and shit like that, then you understand that like shit wasn't fucking sweet back then.
No, shit was not.
You know what I mean? Especially compared to now. Like, it's a complete different world now. But at the same time, we don't have that perspective anymore. We've disassociated too much, and I think we need to get back to loving ourselves again, because that's where the positive movement I saw, the traction, was when we started looking at each other and we wanted to help our communities with our own volitions. We weren't looking for help, but we were looking for respect from everybody else to understand. And I think when people popped in with All Lives and Blue Lives, I just thought it was so beyond disrespectful to have that as even in, because it like went over their heads, because they took it as BLM is no one else matters. But we were saying is we want to matter too. That's all that was. I think, and that's always the message that they who don't want whoever they is, they don't get it.